So, Kal Richmond,
That's my name.
you do a whole lot of things. You're primarily a musician, but I've noticed a lot of your graphic design work has been super sweet.
Thank you,
So,
yeah.
on top of being a musician, you're also very great at graphic design and all that stuff.
Just all the things.
You do all the
I
things.
dabble.
And so,
Also a pro chef. No, I'm joking.
Are you really? So you lead a Christian band called Rejoice, and that's
Yes,
going
I
really
do.
cool. You're heavily involved in the worship music side of church. You do a lot of things at your local church, but you've also helped out with some other corners of worship production.
Yeah.
And then the thing that we're going to primarily talk about today is your affiliation with film production and specifically scoring short films and other productions that people have hired you on to do. And so I guess where I want to start is why? Like, why do you produce music? What got you here?
Yeah.
Why do you still do it? What's your story?
So, I grew up, family loves music. My dad's a worship pastor. My mom sings with him. I'm learning now recently. She knows like 3 instruments from high school. I'm like, you knew the saxophone? Like, what? Like, when is this gonna come up again? All my siblings love to sing, maybe a little too much. Sometimes I'm gonna lock myself in the room. No, I'm kidding. But I've grown up with music, and of course, I've learned to love it. And having a dad who works in the church, I spend a lot of time at the church, which I love because there's so many. It's not just being around God, which is basically all of it, but it's the materials that a church has. It's
The community aspect.
It's the community aspects, the people that you can meet from a church, and it brings you so many like ideas and opportunities, and so.
Sort of an iron sharpening iron situation. You're kind of vicariously learning through your dad's eyes.
Right. And I didn't know I really liked movie scoring until I met you. And I hadn't really met a movie lover as much as you do. And so when you asked for me to do this small, youth groupy film, I was like, yeah, I'll give it my best shot.
Yeah.
And it kind of went up to there, and then got to Kestis, and that was my first big music
I
project.
think the foot in the door was it the post-credit scene of the foretelling?
Yes, yeah.
I think that's what it was the post-credit scene, and then when we did Kestis,
Right.
I was initially talking to your dad, but then like
Right.
the conversation just sort of turned into like, see what Cal's doing, like let's just see what, and then me and you just started talking, and it just felt like the more we talked and passed ideas to each other, the more it was like, okay, Cal's my guy. Like he seems like the perfect person for this project, and we would go through scenes, and you would show me what you're mocking up, and every time it was just like, wow, I can't how is this possible that like I have someone like this in my corner?
A tool, a weapon.
So it's really cool. Okay, so if I guess if I was sort of your exposure to the film world, we kind of fast forward through the foretelling and Kestis and all those things.
Yeah.
I imagine that's probably kind of opened your eyes to a different perspective of, like film scoring. There's something here that I never really thought of before until I started hanging out with Zach. Since then, has there been films that that have stood out to you and have sort of inspired your voice in some way?
Interesting. Okay. So, a movie I watched, Tenet, a Christopher Nolan movie, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
Me and you talked a lot about Tenet when that movie came out.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Me and my dad went to see it, and me and my dad seemed to click on a lot of things, but we went to see it, and we were just like, oh my gosh. Well, no, okay, we went to go see the movie because we had listened to the music prior. And we listened to a track, I believe it's called Trucks in Place.
Yes, Trucks in Place.
Dude,
that was the score of the year when that came out.
Yeah.
What was that, 2020, 2021? It was during COVID.
It was.
It was during COVID because their box office scores were awful because nobody was going to the movies because there was, a quarantine going on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so like the box office was not great for Tenet, but it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And I now that you say that, I do remember the score dropping before the release.
Yeah.
And it just absolutely blowing up,
loved
especially Trucks in Place.
Yeah, it's that synthy, otherworldly sound that I admire and I try to hook onto when I can. You know, of course, some scenes don't need it, or it doesn't suit it. But I definitely love that new, unique sound. But another film that really inspired me, first time I saw it, was Prince of Egypt, the animated film by DreamWorks.
So good.
And even that movie too, it's like it kind of went under people's radar.
Now that was Hans Zimmer, wasn't it?
That was, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, anything Hans Zimmer does is
Early
is
Hans Zimmer was
astronomical.
so dynamic.
Yeah.
I feel like as he sort of found his rhythm, to where it's like he does the Dune thing,
Right.
like
which is amazing.
which is incredible. Like, love the soundtrack, should have won.
Right. Oh, for sure.
It's a crime he did it, but at the same time, early Hans Zimmer career, you've got Thin Red Line, you've got Lion King, you've got Prince of Egypt. I mean, it was like, what can this guy not do?
Yeah, exactly. It's the natural sound that gets me. Like, sure you can do, I use Logic, so you can do all these weird delay, trippy sounds, but at the end of the day, what are you trying to convey? And
So
Hans Zimmer does that really well.
So there's it sounds like there's like two sides of the spectrum for you, is like the otherworldly synthy sounds.
Yeah, the Ludwig Göransson or Ludwig or...
Yeah, but then like sometimes you just want to ground yourself
Right.
in, hand-held instruments and like the real thing.
So yeah, you have synthy, otherworldly. You have Hans Zimmer is his own genre at this point.
Yeah,
you have
he's
Hans
his own
Zimmer,
person.
and then you have my dad really opened this door for me, was the John Williams. I mean, he's the greatest. I
The
believe he's the greatest
orchestral
scorer alive.
I believe that
But
too.
that orchestra side, and that I think that was, he was the composer that showed me you can use one instrument and use it in hundreds of different ways, and you can, flutes. Of course, we've done a lot of Star Wars projects, but flutes are very Jedi-y and whimsical, and it's you don't want to overload your film with a new sound every minute.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Speak more into that. Like, if you were to really break that down as like rules of film scoring, what have you sort of figured out as you're navigating?
Yeah, something I actually thought of today was how fragile each note is. So you have, you have the woodwinds. They'll do, scales for days. Those are fine note-wise. Woodwinds are the flutes and all that. You have the brass, which is you can't go quiet with brass. Like, if it's a somber scene, there's no brass.
It's there.
It's there. It is right in your face. Strings, one of my favorite sounds, a cello, violin. They flutter. All those dynamics are great. But something I came to love is, but by this point, America and all across the world are so used to that orchestra sound. You can make it sound cool, but you know what's happening.
Yeah.
But the second that gritty, distorted synth starts coming up, you're like, oh shoot, this is something completely different. And so it's
You almost have to retrain people's ears.
Yeah.
When you're doing something new and fresh,
Right.
it's cool on one hand, but on the other hand is like, is it going to serve the story, or is
Exactly.
or are you forcing people to relearn sounds and
How to
associate
listen
them
to
with images?
Yeah, definitely.
What's that like when you're the guy that's basically
Oh, dude.
steering that ship? I mean, how much do you feel a lot of pressure when you're in that situation, or is it more like, I've got the instincts, I feel like this is going to be good, and you just gotta go?
The pressure comes in when someone gives you a movie, which you haven't done, but someone gives you a movie and basically says, honestly, I don't really have a vision. You just go for it. I'm like, what? No, give me a vision, please.
Interesting. Speak more into that.
Yeah, I need an anchor at least. So I can do all these things and I can make it. Here's the cool thing about music: it conveys feelings so much better than words do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's
Well, film is the same way.
right,
Because
exactly. Visuals,
images communicate better than words
yeah,
do.
definitely.
Yeah.
And so, where was I going with this?
Like you're looking for an anchor, basically.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So when a film director gives you this movie and it's great and you feel all the feelings. I want like, hey, do you hear synthy stuff? And synthy stuff is that outer worldly sound, or do you hear very, very orchestra heavy? Because some directors want that. They don't want any, distortion at all, which I admire. But once I've got that anchor, I am able to, it's kind of like bungee jumping. Like, get me strapped on, get me hooked on, and I can just start, jumping and experimenting and.
Yeah, that's a fun perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the filmmaker, we've worked a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I know there was concern on my part of just how much I can give you without stepping on your toes or getting too involved in your creative vision. And I eventually want to speak more into that because I think there's a lot of value in there.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I do want to ask you if there's a particular piece of music you've done for a film that you're most proud of, that you look back and you're like, man, I cooked there.
I mean, honestly, that younger me was exploring places I dare not go anymore, but I should. And so, honestly, that post-credit scene of Foretelling, I really do look back on that. And considering it was like the first time I'd ever done something like that, I'm like, yeah, that feels good.
Is it because it's your first, or did you actually see yourself doing things that were really creative? And you're like, ooh.
Well, creative and correct are two different things. I was doing dumb stuff making that. Like, I was not doing anything correctly. But creatively, I really do like how it sounds and how unique it sounds. But I mean, yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind that really speaks to me.
I know I have a favorite piece that you've done.
You might remind me. I've done so much, I can't.
Yeah,
I cannot remember it.
I think that my favorite piece you've done is the moment Kal dies. And he's dying in Dax's arms.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of synthy theme that combines the Mando theme with the Force theme.
Oh, that was
fun. It was very
yeah.
synthy, and then it went right into Kal and Galen Merrick duking it out on the beach.
Yeah.
And I get chills every time because I think it served that moment so perfectly.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because it was very soft and intimate, and the camera was handheld, and it's getting real close in on the action, and it just felt like a moment that you weren't expecting.
I love those times.
And you're like, this is a story. Like there was something about that particular moment for me where it was like, this isn't just a fan film. This isn't just another Star Wars story. This is a story about a father passing down his responsibilities to his kids, or in other words, Kal passing on the clan to Dax and Barton Jessic, and I was like, man, like that's the score sort of brought the moment out. It was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here I am with analogies again, but like if you place like a piece of paper on like a colored table, music is like when you drop water on it. Like there's color there, but the water really brings that color, and especially if it's just one instrument and it's a drone and it slowly creeps in, you're like, oh crap. These feelings I'm feeling aren't just for the director, like, oh, we did such a great job. Like, oh shoot, this story's really taking me somewhere.
Yeah, that's a really cool analogy. All right, so now I've asked you your favorite piece.
Okay.
We'll go to the other side.
Oh, geez.
What is a piece you look back on and you're like, what was I
cringing?
thinking?
It's probably, oh man. I mean, I could of course say some projects on your channel, like we did a John Wick thing, and there were some parts of that I loved, but there are other parts I watched and I'm just like, ugh, jeez.
In your defense, that was a very last-minute project.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we did that in like a week. I don't think we spent very much time on it at all.
But I think times I I look back on something and I'm like, I could have put more time into that, is just smaller scenes. Or like dialogue heavy scenes where I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna cool it, let people listen to the dialogue. Like, that's not how it works. You have to give a base. And
speak more into that. What?
Yeah.
If you could define what you would have done differently during a dialogue sequence, how would you score that? Because I think most people's inclination is to do exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Either have minimal stuff or have no score at all.
Yeah.
Because the instinct is we need to be able to hear what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But how would you go back and do it today?
Yeah, so your brain is really good at listening to a melody and hearing dialogue at the same time. And so I remember I did it. I think a lot of other composers get to this roadblock where they're like, okay, I want to write a melody. I don't want to just do ambience. I want to write a melody that goes somewhere, but I don't want to step over anyone's toes. And so you get into that weird, how do I tiptoe this? But in reality, I don't think it's that. I think adding a melody, like a character theme, while they're speaking. Of course, you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah.
But adding that melody, your brain is the music part of your brain is listening to that, and it's enhancing what they're saying, but it's not like erasing what you're hearing or overpowering it. Yeah.
And you know who I think figured that out is Christopher Nolan. Because
Yeah,
if you watch
I think
all
so,
of
yeah.
his expository sequences, there's always music going on.
Yeah.
Like, I specifically remember in Tenet when Robert Pattinson and Washington, what's his name?
Denzel?
I think that's his son. Anyway, the two lead characters, they're basically talking about how they're going to crash the plane into the warehouse. And the whole time you have the
Right.
and it's like
You think it's craziness.
yeah. I mean, the music is like all over the place and it's super
But
high energy.
you understand it.
But I'm hearing their dialogue
Right.
and it's elevating it. It's not overpowering and it's like getting you ready for that.
Right. And imagine if that scene was just like,
it'd be boring.
Geez, that'd be
It'd be boring.
That's your bathroom break in the theater.
It wouldn't feel like a heist film.
Right,
Like, I think Tenet was basically a heist film.
It was a time travel heist film.
It was a time
time
warping-
reversal, interpolation, heist film.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Something like that.
It's
yeah.
a Nolan film.
But like, and it's so much about like, what does the music do to serve the story?
Yeah.
And to bring that moment out. And I'm certainly not musically inclined.
But anyone can hear it.
But I think everyone knows when it's done well.
Yeah, definitely.
And when it's not done well either.
Definitely.
And it's such a fun aspect of filmmaking that I hadn't really tapped into until the last few films that I've done with you. It was a really fun process for me personally. Working
definitely.
with you. We're going to talk about the best way filmmakers can collaborate with film composers.
Okay.
Sort of dabbling into the do's and the don'ts and what your experience has been like with filmmakers and my experience working with composers. We're going to talk about sort of the value of how to collaborate and do that sort of interaction. But before we get into that, we're going to cut the tape because it's Patreon members from here on out. I want to thank Wesley Hamilton, Rachel DeBicaro, Felix Arroyo, Eden Wilbanks, Kendra Lee, Andrew White, all you guys for being part of the Gen 1 family and supporting me on Patreon. This has been The Golden Hours with Zach Golden, and that's a wrap on YouTube and Spotify. And cut.